Oh boy. So here we go, where Hollywood is going to infect the gaming industry once again. I mean, first it's the union stuff, and now it's all this, strike. We have to strike. We have to strike. We have to strike. Okay, so there's a lot here to unpack. I think the first thing that I really want to jump into with all this, strike authorization 2023 movement stuff is Hollywood is not gaming. Gaming is not Hollywood. They're two. There's a lot of similarities in between Hollywood and gaming, but there is a lot of differences. So there's a big question of AI going on in all this stuff of whether or not AI is going to take over jobs and everything. We're going to get into that, but first of all, I wanted to actually jump in and read the actual SAG-AFTRA. So SAG-AFTRA National Board has voted unanimously a strike authorization vote to SAG-AFTRA members in preparation of the union's forthcoming bargaining dates with signatory video game companies, which include Activision, Blindlight, Disney, EA, Epic, Formosa, not quite sure which one that is, Insomniac, that's PlayStation Studio, Take-Two, they own they own Rockstar, which means they own GTA. VoiceWorks Production, which I think might be a management company for voiceover workers, I should say voice actors, because a lot of people, they don't just do voiceover, they do acting, they do a full on. It's like a play, it's like a stage show, but with skin tight suits, little reflectors all over you, and a million cameras that are like 4K quality, just tracking your every movement. That's something that happens. So WB Games also. So it has been nearly a year since SAG-AFTRA's video game contract, the interactive media agreement, was extended beyond the original expiration dates as we negotiate with the companies for critical terms SAG-AFTRA members need. Unfortunately, throughout the negotiations, the companies have failed to address those needs. For this reason, the negotiation committee and national board unanimously agreed that the union should have a member-approved strike authorization in hand when bargaining resumes on September 26. Although key issues like wages, I keep up with inflation and protections against unrestrained use of AI are common sticking points in negotiations. The interactive media video game agreement is a separate contract from the TV, theatrical, and streaming contracts against which SAG-AFTRA members are currently striking. Yes, because video games are a very different business. There is a very different type of contract that goes into all this stuff. Interactive medium, there is so many different departments between the writers departments, between the level designers, the artists, the like the concept artists, the visual artists, the music departments, which is how you get your theme songs, how you get your soundtracks, and all that. The mocap, the voiceover booth, the or the mocap studios and everything. So there is so much more going on with gaming than Hollywood even thinks about. So here we go again. Now our interactive video game agreement. I should be reading this in a different voice though. And here we go again. Now our interactive video game agreement is on stalemate. There's a reason why I use that voice. It's because of this person. Fran Dresser, aka Fran Fine, from back in the TV show days.
Oh, hi, Mr. Sheffield.
She is the SAG-AFTRA president. So she is the one that is making all the striking and everything else end up happening. Wow. Okay. This just, there's so many layers to the story. So once again, we are facing employer greed and disrespect. Once again, artificial intelligence, AI, is putting our members in jeopardy of reducing their opportunity to work. Not really. If anything, in the gaming industry, AI actually puts more people to work and actually helps out the ones that are working. The developers, we have been using AI for 40-something fucking years. Okay? Seriously. AI is actually a very good tool. We use it on the daily. If you are a gamer, you use AI on the daily. You know what AI is in gaming? It's every single time an NPC can walk around on the screen. AI helps out with, I mean, Unreal Engine has AI built into it, so you can end up copy and pasting your level designs to make level design work so much easier. This is Hollywood not knowing a damn thing about what they're talking about when it comes to the gaming space. So the overlap of these two SAG-AFTRA contracts is no coincidence, but rather a predictable issue impacting our industry as well as others all over the world. The disease of greed is spreading like wildfire, ready to burn workers out of their livelihoods and humans out of their usefulness. Really? Talk about over-dramatizing it. No, it's just, if anything, it has been like contract workers not getting the job, and they keep whining and complaining that I didn't get brought on to work full time, even though I was just a game tester and I was only contracted just to do this one job over here. But I really wanted to work with the company. Okay, keep coming back to try and work with the company. Also put in some useful information. There is a lot of game testers that go from game testing to working on the development team. But the problem is you have to actually know your stuff to actually be working on the development team. If not, you're just holding everyone back. Millions of dollars, years worth of work. If you can't keep up, they're not going to hire you to keep up. Just plain and simple as that. Go and learn some more about the craft and the trade instead of sitting there whining about they didn't sign me. Sometimes they just don't have no room to sign you on the development team. But this is something that we've been hearing about for years. This is the reason why the whole union conversation has popped up and all that stuff. We at SAG-AFTRA say, no, not on our watch. Work under the Interactive Media Agreement also includes a great deal of performance capture. So all those mocap videos that you see and all those voice actors, or just, I guess you could just call them actors at this point, video game actors. Like a major one we just saw was Fort Solis. Not a lot of people have been playing it, but Troy Baker, Roger Clark, they were strapped up in the suits. They had the camera in front of their face. They were doing the whole 9 yards. If you watched The Last of Us, the TV show, when Troy Baker, once again, and Ashley Johnson were playing Joel and Ellie in the original video game, they had the suits on. They were doing full-on acting. They were doing the whole thing on a soundstage in front of a bunch of cameras that tracks all your movement and does all that stuff. Okay, so a great deal of performance capture. So it costs millions of dollars to make performance capture happen. And if there's one thing that I have not actually heard anybody complain about, it was motion capture. Voice actors? Sure, they complain. Game testers? Sure, they complain. I've heard of artists having their work stolen by AI bot stuff, That's something I've heard. I've heard of game companies, namely publishers, not wanting to pay their fair share. The board of directors of the publishers not wanting to pay their fair share to game developers for their art and their music and such. Sure, we just saw Mick Gordon go through that with Microsoft. Even though right now Starfield is the big thing, so you're not supposed to be talking about Microsoft in a negative light. It happened. Ironically enough, too, that's also Bethesda that's connected to. So let's see here. National Executive Director Duncan Crabtree Ireland, that's a name, explained the voice and performance capture artists who bring video game characters to life deserve a contract that reflects the value they bring to the multi-billion-dollar gaming industry. Yes, we make more money than the movie industry by a crap ton. Voice and performance capture AI are already among the most advanced uses of AI. The threat is here and it is real. When I follow this stuff religiously, damn near. I have not heard of any development studios using AI unless it is something like where it's such a small little indie development studio that is not connected to a publisher that they just can't afford to hire voice actors. So then most of the time, though, and here's where the gaming industry goes way different than Hollywood stuff, where they have no idea what they're talking about. Most of the time you have text on the screen. And a lot of us, what we do is we read the text that's on the screen. Matter of fact, Starfield is doing it right now, funny enough, to bring this back up of like a Microsoft type of a topic I just brought up before. Baldur's Gate, most of Bethesda games, whenever you have the text on the screen, we all like to do a thing in the gaming world called voice acting. The player does the voice acting for your player character that's in the world. I've done it on stream a lot of times. When you go back and play old 90s games and the AI technically is running around and, you're having that fight against the things on the screen that is actually NPC or the boss fight and everything. It is AI controlled from back in, the 90s. Also, some of it is from the 80s too, in the arcade days and everything. Yes, we've been using AI for a very long time. It's just the older generation doesn't really understand what exactly AI is, which is really funny because, it's been talked about in books and movies and TV shows and everything else underneath the sun, music, all that stuff. Sure, music could somewhat be impacted by it, but not really, because it takes AI. Whenever you're trying to do the AI thing, it has to draw from somewhere else, but it also has to be programmed. So when you're doing the voice, when you have an AI doing voiceover work and somebody cannot afford to pay a voice actor to begin with, and that voice actor wouldn't be getting that job because there's no money in the budget to pay that voice actor. Again, it's just the way that Hollywood goes about this. The reason why I'm so just about this is because if this goes through and this happens, there's a very good likelihood that we're going to have stuff cut from games like Grand Theft Auto 6, from games like Marvel's Wolverine. Possibly depending on like when this starts or whatever, it could be even Spider-Man 2. Like all these games, we are on a very golden year of gaming right now, and this stuff could very well just throw it for a curveball. Let's see here. So, in addition to AI protection, SAG-AFTRA is seeking the same wage increases for video game performers as those who work under the film and TV contracts. 11% retrograde to expiration, 4% increases in the second and third year of the agreement necessary for members' wages to keep up with inflation. Okay, maybe this might be the only thing that I've seen that is like looking out for the actors possibly. I don't know what the contracts actually look like for actors. I've never had a contract as an actor, so it's hard for me to judge there. But this stuff with the AIs thing is complete bullshit. Let's see here. The union is also asking for an on-camera performers to have the same 5 minutes per hour rest period that off-camera performers are entitled to. So on-camera performers, are we talking face capture? Are we talking mocap? Are we talking, you can have sometimes there. This is the thing with gaming. The technology, sometimes they make new technologies that cannot fit into this bubble. Sometimes it is just voice acting that is happening, and they do it, hand animations and everything. Sometimes it is mocap where they have the camera, in your face and whatnot. Sometimes there is no face camera, and it's just tracking the movement because they can't afford this face camera because it's like $1 million rig that you have set up right there. So how do you even go about putting all this stuff in the right categories to actually figure out what in the hell is what? It just feels like a mess waiting to happen of like trying to do contract negotiations and everything, and then you're gonna lose very good talented people off from the project because they can't figure out some stuff about this stuff. Let's see here. A successful strike authorization vote doesn't initiate a strike. Instead, the strike authorization permits the National Board to declare a strike if the video game companies fail to negotiate fairly with SAG-AFTRA for the benefits of its members. The union is fighting for protective language in the contract that will require informed consent and appropriate payment for the creation and use of digital replicas and for training AI systems with our members' performances. Well, this already happens. They pay you for your likeness, and there's a lot of times voice actors will not use their actual real life face likeness in games, and it's already like in the contract. So what the hell are you trying to get at here? There's a lot of time, like Troy Baker has done so many damn games. You can't even name them all in a, you have to look up a list. It's giant. And he's already gone on record talking about how when it comes to using his likeness in game for the longest time he didn't allow companies to do that. They would have to either make a mock-up character like Snow in Final Fantasy. Joel looks nothing like Troy Baker. I mean, maybe slightly modeled off him just to make the voice fit the face somewhat, but it's not his face. The first time that I can really remember Troy being like face scanned into a game was for Infamous, and then he did it again for Death Stranding because he really he really gets along with Kojima and all that production. So yeah, like these contract negotiations have already been happening for years. Like, what are they trying to get? It just seems like this whole strike thing is just trying to get more viewership, I guess, or more clout on the Hollywood side of things, and they're trying to use the video game industry to build that clout for Hollywood. It's which is like, no, it's not. It's not really superly broke. There's a lot worse going on in the gaming industry than writer's strike of that we're already dealing with allegations and lawsuits and buyouts and this and that and the other thing. So now you're going to make it so we can't even work on games. No, get out of here with that. That's not. There's no way. When it already takes us 4 years, sometimes 5, sometimes 10 years to get a damn game made after multiple, iterations of it, because when you're writing for a 2-hour movie, that script is not as long as trying to write for a 20 to 120 hour game. There is some games that have like 120 hours worth of dialogue in it. You have to write all that stuff. You have to hire people. You have to work years and years and years and hours upon hours to make all this stuff happen. If we have a writer's strike and then this doesn't work and then there's another writer's strike, there goes probably, I'd say probably 5-6 projects, especially if they're AAA big budget projects are worth tens of millions of dollars, billions or whatever. That goes out the window. So we're going, because of Hollywood and their whole insecurity about what the hell they're trying to do over on their side of things, it's going to trickle. And this is also California. It's the liberal stuff and all that, but it's the politics of the whole thing too. It's now trickling into the the interactive media side of all this stuff. It just frustrates me so much seeing it. So IGN has also talked about all this stuff too, which is mostly the same, mostly the same stuff that they're talking about over here. But one thing, the last time SAG-AFTRA went on strike against the gaming companies was in October 2016, and it lasted 11 months. This is a room full of developers. They all work around California. Two of them work in California. One of them works in Australia, that guy up there. They all work in games, though. They all hear about this stuff. They all have friends that are part of the strike. Oh, some interesting takes here.
He can, because video games are not affected by the strike.
Worried about how if it's seen as promotion, if that would be seen as scabbing anyway.
This was 2 weeks ago.
So there's two things here. One of them
maybe
is
3 weeks.
Public perception. The other one is SAG's...
The actual rules.
The actual rules. The actual rules around video games, and promoting video games, that's totally fine. We're still working on video games.
So your actors are all still allowed to talk about it? Because obviously the actors are a much bigger part of this than they feel like they are of even most games.
100%.
Your cast is super important.
It's super important. And, the interactive contract is not struck. So...
which it's going to be possibly if this all goes through. Now, it's funny, about 2-3 weeks ago, roughly about a month ago, this wasn't even a thing of like, okay, this is going to happen.
Video game performers can still talk about the projects they're in. They can still record. They can still do all that kind of stuff.
And for the record, Troy and
very specific ones.
Yeah, it's same thing. Television animation is also not struck, but feature animation is, and live action, everything, I think. But for the record, Anjali, Troy, Laura, have all within the last 24 hours, shared stuff. So I don't. They're and all of them obviously.
We went and did our research. Yeah, because we would never have asked people to like promote or even given the materials if we had been like,
destroy your own reputation for that. That'd be so nuts.
we would have been like.
And this is where you come back to the whole California thing of, okay, well, now all of a sudden they can't do their job of promoting the correct way, being in the gaming industry, because now everybody's on eggshells of, oh, is it against the rules that some other people are set in Hollywood are setting that is not actually part of the gaming industry? So now can we actually work and do our job in the gaming industry, even though Hollywood is throwing their little fit about, stuff that's happening in the Hollywood world of creation? So again, it's just like, why are we dealing with Hollywood's mess in the gaming industry when it's such a different set of circumstances, and everything is run so differently in the gaming industry?
Run out, and so it is the negotiation period, whereas the interactive contract has like a different period. So when this contract runs out, it's very possible that video game actors will also choose to strike because
because they're still SAG, obviously, and I know it's still SAG Productions. Like any of the video game acting I've done has still been SAG. But is there like a video game subset that has to negotiate with the AMPTP?
Yeah, so there's basically the way that SAG works for anyone, because like I think this is pretty mysterious to most people. So
yeah, I know more about the WGA than I know about SAG by a mile.
100%, and I think it's clearer, to be honest. But SAG has a series of contracts for like each medium has a different
Welcome
contract.
to California.
So you have like television, you have feature films, you have the interactive contract under which games sits, you have animation, you have like audio and sound recording, you have like, so there's all of these different contracts, and
so because the Hollywood movie one happened, then it's creeping into gaming. The next thing it could creep into is music. So then every form and piece of entertainment that everybody wants to throw a fit about of this, that, and the other, like the whole damn entertainment industry could end up getting shot in the foot because, and like, a lot of projects could be canceled and stuff because of all this, because these actors over here started their little fits about contract negotiations that they should have already been doing those contract negotiations better to begin with. Don't take the job if the contract is not negotiated properly. If you're not negotiating a proper contract, learn how to negotiate. Get a better management that can negotiate a better contract for you. Okay, really quickly from the editor's room, as you can see over there. So I took another little 5-minute break just to, as in the middle of editing all this stuff, to just really get a nice, solid, clear picture of exactly what was happening with all this. And from more information, like the more I check into this, the more information I get. But it seems like the higher ups, basically the CEOs of all these different companies, of all the different studios that make all these different shows, that would be negotiating contracts initially with like shareholders and such, and ad revenue companies, because we have so much streaming, and all that going on, and then that contract negotiations up here went really just kind of rough because they didn't negotiate proper contracts. That went down to the writers' rooms, the developers basically of the scripts and the vision of like the writers and the developers and everything else and all that, and then that because this negotiation was not done properly, that goes down to this one not getting the proper funding and everything that they're looking for. Then that goes down to the actors and the people that are working on sets, trying to build the sets and all that stuff. So everybody is getting kind of screwed on the contract negotiations, because starting up top, the ones that are supposed to be the most smart running the company are not doing the contract negotiations the absolute correct way. Everything comes down to contract negotiation when it comes to you getting paid and getting your money, and and having when it comes to workplace, and how good the workplace is. That's a different story, because then it's like, okay, if there's really bad people in the workplace and everything, then yes, you should be able to get out of that workplace, no problem at all. But when it comes to contract negotiations, figure it out. Don't drag everybody else down with you.
Weirdly, SAG also includes singers session singers are also part of SAG, which is its own contract.
Which session singers, the thing with that is like, my God, there's so many people that can lose work just because it's like not morally correct to do all, to be working and to be promoting and all that stuff. So, okay, so another great point being made.
Entity on behalf of and it would be on behalf of who? Like the publishers, Microsoft, Sony,
and they
Ubisoft,
all run so
EA.
differently that
yeah, exactly.
I can't even fathom. Like the closest thing we have to even a board is the ESA, and that wouldn't apply to workers.
Which ESA, for those that don't know, that is basically the ESRB. It's the ratings board, and also I do believe they set the price tag for okay, so most every game should be within the $50 to $70 range for your standard edition, and then your deluxe edition should be like $100 to maybe $120 for everybody paying US dollars, of course. But yeah, it's like every company runs so damn differently, where Hollywood, it's just like, okay, so you get in with your agent, you get in with management of the company that's making the film, you shoot all the scenes for that 2-hour feature film, with all the writing, happening before all that stuff and everything, and a lot of times the writing is already set and done. Then they're looking for the actors. The actors do contract negotiations. There's a set budget of like, okay, I'm going to get paid this much to play this character and do all that. Gaming industry is not like that. All of a sudden you have, there's so much bugs and happening in the virtual world where the game is falling apart, and now you need a contract extension. Well, that first contract that you just did, that gets thrown out the window. You need to, it's not even that you get negotiated a different contract. It's that you are now just extending the contract over. Again, it's just such a different world in the gaming industry. Also, the music industry, too, works way different than the movie and the gaming industry, because there's different, you got touring and you got live shows and everything else. That doesn't happen with a movie set. It doesn't happen with Hollywood. So the Hollywood actors trying to talk on a different industry that they have very little to do with, because, yes, you do need Hollywood actors. Well, although a lot of times we get stage actors like theater actors to do the gaming stuff, because theater actors are better acclimated to the soundstage of mocap and all that. But it's like Alana said there. Like, there is a lot of video game actors that are part of SAG, and I feel like it's just like they're getting, like, the gaming industry is getting roped into all this controversy that Hollywood is starting up. So one of the craziest things that they're doing in Skyrim right now is they're taking ChatGPT. They're taking I think it's like the wiki or something like that, or maybe it's just the information in the game, and what ChatGPT is doing. So ChatGPT is it's like like the Bing search ChatGPT type of thing, where it's like the advanced search AI. Using AI so you can find and pinpoint key words in the text dialogue in the whole game scripting that is there, that you would end up having to like read as an item description of the text that's already in the game. And literally these characters can now use in between ChatGPT running alongside AI voice, voiceover stuff that you just couldn't fit in the game. That's the reason why, it's not that, and it would cost them so much to pay the voice actor to do this. But they're taking a game from, was it like 10, 12, 15 years ago, and they're bringing a whole new life into the game by using AI tech in the game to push it. This is modders. This is not, officially done or anything, but just think of what could be officially done with this, with actual developers. So it takes all that, it adds a voice to the text, and all of a sudden you're having a conversation. And if you do voice recognition software alongside the ChatGPT, alongside the text in the game, you can literally have a conversation, very slow conversation. It's very kind of janky technology and everything, but you can actually have a conversation with the NPCs in the game like never before. The gaming industry has been trying to do this forever, and now we're finally getting there, and Hollywood wants to go on strike and sit there and say no. Imagine if developers can use AI tech to its fullest potential to make really cool stuff happen. And Hollywood always goes at it from the direction of this is terrible, this is bad. They watch the news, and the news is telling them AI is terrible, it's bad. But we have been using AI in such cool ways. AI literally drives ray tracing technology. That is the reason why you have to have an RTX card. The RTX is AI tech built into your card that doubles up your frame rate with DLSS. Now DLSS 3.0. Like, we use it so much, and them going after AI again, is it putting people out of work? No, because you still have to program the AI to be able to say the thing. So you would still have your writers there. Is it good enough to replace a voice actor? No. Could it get there? Maybe, but you still need the emotion in there. And if you don't have a very well performed scene, you don't have anything. You just have a voice talking. So, would it put maybe background voices out of work possibly? Maybe. That could also free up, more of the budget to put into, the main characters and creating even more story for the game. It's just, again, I just feel like Hollywood is coming after the gaming industry and they have no idea what the hell they're actually going after. It's kind of ridiculous, but I'm gonna keep my ears and eyes on the situation that's happening. Hopefully there is no actual strike, and this is just like something that Hollywood is just being all about, and it doesn't actually affect the gaming industry so much. Again, I just want to see the rest of this year and hopefully next year that we just keep on this golden path of just like major big hits coming out, a little something for everyone, and everybody gets the games that they're looking forward to. And also the developers get, a lot of really cool games, that they've been working on for years to come out, and they come out proper. That's the most we can ask for. There's always, when you have thousands of people working on a project, there's always going to be a few bad apples in the bunch. That just comes with the territory. But again, if those bad apples want to, and what I'm calling bad apples is the ones that just, it's not that they're doing anything wrong. It's just they need to do the contract negotiations better. Like that's what the whole thing is. And then they're crying about it. And some of them definitely need to get some more common sense in their head too. Like that's just, that's, it's the way it works. Gaming tech, it's just as bad as Hollywood in that aspect. Yes. But, hopefully going forward, we'll end up seeing, way more, cool innovations happening in the field of tech and gaming. So until then, be sure to like and subscribe and all that stuff to the Werewolf YouTube channel. Again, I'll keep my eyes and ears on all this stuff as I normally do. And we'll see what ends up happening. Hopefully we'll have some cool trailers and stuff coming out. So, not so much dramatic stuff going on. But, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for stopping by. And as always, I will see you next time.